In this lesson, we will learn about externalities. The lesson covers the definition of externalities, the types of externalities, and externality diagrams. Externalities are the third-party effects of production or consumption. They are the effects of the actions of one economic agent on another economic agent, which may be beneficial or harmful. For example, the effect of smoking on a non-smoker, or the effect of water pollution by a company on the community. Because the free market does not account for externalities, market failure occurs. Market failure occurs when the market economy does not allocate resources efficiently. A market economy that is driven by the private sector fails to use resources in the best interest of the society. One other cause of market failure, apart from externalities, is the under-provision of education by the free market. There are two broad categories of externalities, namely production externalities and consumption externalities. Production externalities can be positive or negative. Similarly, consumption externalities can be positive or negative. That means there are four types of externalities: positive production externalities, negative production externalities, positive consumption externalities, and negative consumption externalities. What are negative production externalities? Negative production externalities are the negative effects of production on third parties or others. For example, air, water, or noise pollution from a business affects other people who were not part of the decision to produce. Positive production externalities. These are the benefits to third parties arising from production. For example, freely available software that other firms can replicate to boost their productivity, new vaccines, etc. Negative consumption externalities. These are the negative effects of the consumption of one party on another party, e.g., second-hand smoke, congestion from car use, road accidents from alcohol use. Positive consumption externalities. Positive third-party effects arising from consumption are known as positive consumption externalities. A person who has received a vaccination, for instance, will not infect others. Also, the society benefits from education. Next, we will consider private costs, external costs, and social costs. Private costs are the costs incurred by the decision maker. They are paid directly by the party that decides to produce or consume. For example, rent, wages, and cost of raw materials incurred by a factory. External costs are costs incurred by parties that are not the decision makers, e.g., pollution or traffic congestion caused by a factory affects other people. It imposes some costs on them which are known as external costs. Social costs are the total costs of a decision. The sum of the external and private cost is social cost. Private benefit, external benefit, and social benefit. Private benefit is the benefit derived from consumption or production. External benefit is the benefit to a party as a result of the action of another party. For example, other people not catching a disease from someone who is vaccinated. Social benefit is the total benefit from a decision. It is the sum of private benefit and external benefit. We will be using the knowledge of demand and supply to draw the externality diagrams. Supply curve is for producers. We use supply curves to represent production externalities. We label them marginal social cost, MSC, and marginal private cost, MPC. Remember, one of the factors affecting supply is the cost of production. We use demand curves to represent consumption externalities since demand concerns consumers. We label the curves benefits. For example, marginal social benefit, MSB, and marginal private benefit, MPB. Of course, consumers benefit from using a product. The graph on the left is a production externality diagram, because it has two supply curves, which we labeled marginal social cost, MSC, and marginal private cost, MPC. The demand curve is there to determine equilibrium. The diagram on the right is a consumption externality diagram. We have two demand curves called marginal social benefit, MSB, and marginal private benefit, MPB. The supply curve, MPC equals MSC, is to determine the equilibrium. For production externality diagram, we draw two supply curves. One will be marginal social cost, the other will be marginal private cost. We don't have a curve for external cost. It is the difference between the social cost and the private cost. It is the distance between the two curves. We will use the formula: social cost is equal to the sum of private cost and external cost. Negative production externality means that productive activities impose some costs on third parties. These costs are external costs. If there is a negative externality, that means there is an external cost. Looking at the formula, if there is an external cost, social cost will be greater than private cost. Showing that on the graph, the social cost curve will be above the private cost curve. In the diagram, the supply curve that is above is labeled marginal social cost. The one that is below is called marginal private cost. We add marginal to have marginal social cost and marginal private cost. On the graph, the distance between the marginal social cost curve and marginal private cost curve represents the marginal external cost, MEC, marginal private cost, MPC, is the cost incurred directly by the producer to make an extra unit of a product. Marginal external cost, MEC, is the cost to a third party that arises from producing an extra unit of a product. Marginal social cost, MSC, is the total cost incurred in producing an extra unit of a product. If there is no external cost, social cost will be equal to private cost. We are going to determine the free market equilibrium quantity, the social optimum quantity, and welfare loss. Remember, the free market is an economic system where resources are owned and controlled by the private sector. The free market equilibrium is where the marginal private cost and marginal private benefit are equal. It is point C. The free market equilibrium quantity, QF, is traced from the free market equilibrium. The social optimum quantity is from where marginal social cost and marginal social benefit are equal. It is QO. The free market quantity is the actual quantity provided by the market economy. The social optimum quantity is the best quantity for the society. The free market quantity is more than the social optimum quantity. This means the quantity being produced is more than what is beneficial to the society as a whole. This leads to welfare loss to the society. To identify the area of the welfare loss, start from free market quantity, the actual quantity produced, move vertically up and draw a vertical line between the two supply curves, MSC and MPC. It is line BC and it forms a side of the triangle. The triangle formed represents the welfare loss. In this case, it is triangle ABC. The two supply curves will still be used to show positive production externality. Using the formula, marginal social cost is equal to the sum of marginal private cost and marginal external cost. If there is an external cost, marginal social cost is greater than marginal private cost. If there is no external cost, marginal social cost is equal to marginal private cost. If there is external benefit, marginal social cost is less than marginal private cost. Positive production externality means that productive activities are beneficial to third parties. This means the social cost will be less than the private cost. Therefore, the marginal social cost curve will be below the marginal private cost curve. The free market equilibrium, point D, is where the marginal private cost and marginal private benefit are equal. The free market equilibrium quantity is QF. The social optimum quantity is from where marginal social cost and marginal social benefit are equal. It is QO. The free market quantity is less than the social optimum quantity. This means the quantity being produced is less than what is beneficial to the society as a whole. The society stands to benefit if more can be produced. In other words, there is a potential welfare gain. To identify the area of the welfare gain, start from free market quantity, the actual quantity produced, move vertically up, the vertical line between MPC and MSC, line DF, forms a side of a triangle. The triangle formed represents the potential welfare gain. In this case it is triangle DEF. We draw two demand curves when we want to draw a consumption externality diagram. One will be marginal social benefit, the other will be marginal private benefit. We don't have a curve for external benefit. It is the difference between the social benefit and the private benefit. It is the distance between the two curves. Social benefit is equal to the sum of private benefit and external benefit. Consumption has some benefits to third parties if there is a positive consumption externality. These benefits are external benefits. If there is a positive externality, that means there is an external benefit. Looking at the formula, if there is an external benefit, social benefit will be greater than private benefit. Showing that on the graph, the social benefit curve will be above the private benefit curve if social benefit is greater than private benefit. In the diagram, the demand curve that is above is labeled marginal social benefit. The one that is below is called marginal private benefit. Note that we just need to add marginal to have marginal social benefit and marginal private benefit. Social benefit minus private benefit is external benefit. That is to say, external benefit is the difference between social benefit and private benefit. On the graph, the distance between the marginal social benefit curve and marginal private benefit curve represents the marginal external benefit, MEB. The benefit enjoyed by a consumer for consuming an extra unit of a product is marginal private benefit, MPB. Marginal external benefit, MEB, is the benefit to a third party that arises from consuming an extra unit of a product. Marginal social benefit, MSB, is the total benefit from consuming an extra unit of a product. If there is no external benefit, social benefit will be equal to private benefit. The free market equilibrium, point I, is where the marginal private cost and marginal private benefit are equal. The free market equilibrium quantity is QF. The social optimum quantity is from where marginal social cost and marginal social benefit are equal. It is QO. The free market quantity is less than the social optimum quantity. This means the quantity being consumed is less than what is beneficial to the society as a whole. The society will benefit if more can be consumed. In other words, there is a potential welfare gain. To identify the area of the welfare gain, start from free market quantity, the actual quantity consumed, move vertically up and draw a vertical line between MSB and MPB. The triangle formed represents the potential welfare gain. In this case, it is triangle GHI. We will still use the two demand curves for negative consumption externality. We will use the formula, marginal social benefit is equal to the sum of marginal private benefit and marginal external benefit. If there is an external benefit, marginal social benefit is greater than marginal private benefit. If there is no external benefit, marginal social benefit is equal to marginal private benefit. If there is a negative consumption externality, marginal social benefit is less than marginal private benefit. Negative consumption externality means that consumption is harmful to third parties. This means the social benefit will be less than the private benefit. Therefore, the marginal social benefit curve will be below the marginal private benefit curve for negative consumption externality. The free market equilibrium, point K, is where the marginal private cost and marginal private benefit are equal. The free market equilibrium quantity is QF. The social optimum quantity is from where marginal social cost and marginal social benefit are equal. It is QO. The free market quantity is more than the social optimum quantity. This means the quantity being consumed is more than what is beneficial to the society as a whole. The society stands to benefit if less can be consumed. In other words, there is a welfare loss. To identify the area of the welfare loss, start from free market quantity, the actual quantity consumed, move vertically up, the vertical line between MPB and MSB, line KL, forms a side of a triangle. The triangle formed represents the welfare loss. In this case, it is triangle JKL.